Hank. I did it. I turned off the image before we went live. I did it, guys. I'm here and I'm alert. Guys, welcome back to Pencil to Pencil Live, LIVE. If you see 3 expert cartoonists on your video scope, that means it's Wednesday at 8 p.m. EST. I'm excited. I know you are. If this is your first time watching this live, you're in for a treat. Welcome, everyone. I will get the introduction started. I am your first host. My name is Jamar Nicholas. I am a career cartoonist on the board of the National Cartoonist Society in Philadelphia chapter chair. Go Birds! On top of all those wonderful things, I'm also the creator of Leon the Extraordinary, a series at Scholastic underneath the Graphics imprint. Leon, Worst Friends Forever was released October 2024. Go get it. Why don't you make a kid's life complete? I would be remiss if I did not introduce my co-host, cohort, and co-conspirator. He is, you ready for it? He is the Bill Bixby of webcomics, walking down that lonely internet highway with a melodic tinkle behind him.
A melodic tinkle in his dungarees.
You would not like him when he is angry. Please welcome my good buddy, Stone Cold Steve Conley. What's up, Steve Conley?
Gentlemen, so good to see you. Hello,
Yes.
everyone. My name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, which you can read at middleagecomic.com. We just passed 22,000 subscribers over on Webtoons. Thank you, all you wonderful people on Webtoons. And we're on Tapas and, middleagecomic.com and all that. I also make TTRPG stuff. So if you played the Dungeons and the Dragons and you want to get your drunken wizards,
Yes.
come to Intoximancy. Check it out. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Tower of Power, the Man of the Hour, Too Sweet to Be Sour, the Kirby Crackle to our Snap and Pop, Mr. Mike Manley.
Hello, everyone.
Well, hello.
My name is Mike Manley. 40-year veteran of this here comic book business. And I'm currently working on Judge Parker and the Phantom, who's about to turn 89 years old.
What?
Yeah.
So are you at kind of like a midpoint where Phantom doesn't go into public domain in a couple of years? Does it?
2030, I think he goes it in not that long. It's actually going to be public domain. Yeah. All the characters that you love within the next 10 years or so are going into public domain, including Superman, Batman, Phantom. Popeye went this year. Tintin went this year. Mickey, and then like each year of because it's each year the characters, like Robin's not in the first Batman, right? So you could do Batman, but you can't do Robin. You'd have to do Sparrow, right? And then what was it 2037, 35? The Joker will be public domain. So
Wow.
basically in the next 10 years or so, all the major, Wonder Woman, all that stuff is all going to be in public domain. But that doesn't mean, honestly, whether anybody's really going to do anything interesting with the stuff, just because, everyone can do their murder version of what was it, like Winnie the Pooh? Right? And then people, what do? They immediately do. Everybody does like their murder version. It's just like there's always like a porn version of everything, right? Now there'll be like a public, like dirty murder Pooh, and there's like I think there's a couple Popeye things planned where he's like Popeye the 13th or something. I mean that's what seems to be the first thing that people come to mind is they're going to do like a dark version of
But so wait a minute. Now I know with the Mickey, it's like Steamboat Willie Mickey. It's not just Mickey. Is that how it works?
Well, that was what 2 years ago, 1 year ago. So every year by year, like there was the Mickey with the buttons and the Mickey with the gloves and the Mickey with the with the shoes, and then eventually Pluto, and then eventually Daffy. I mean Donald, but there's the early Donald, right? But I still think the bottom line is that if anybody really went too far, somebody like Disney has so much money, they could just nuisance lawsuit you into the dirt.
Yeah, because they still have the trademarks. That's a big part of it. So that you can't sell anything called Mickey. You can't sell anything called Mickey Mouse, but you can.
You can sell it like that mouse.
I'll make mincemeat out of that mouse.
Right. But honestly, I mean, you are not gonna take Superman and make any money off of him, because
is that a challenge?
Yeah, I challenge you. I challenge you now.
You're not going to do it, Conley.
I challenge you now, Steve, to violate trademark and copyright and make money off of Superman.
I double dog dare you.
I just think you do better to do your own thing, rather than try to make money off of Superman.
Right. That seems like low-hanging fruit, but it's just like, it's a road to ruin, possibly.
Right. And I think the fact is that the corporate versions that have that history is what people know. And so whether it enters public domain, we're not far enough down the road yet to where something like 100 years have passed, like with Sherlock Holmes or Dracula or Frankenstein. It's past a whole generation or maybe 2 generations of people. So I think people can get caught up in the fantasy of like, oh, now I'll be able to tell the Batman stories that I want to tell, but that usually entails having all the other characters like Commissioner Gordon and
right.
Also, I don't know where Chief O'Hara goes into public domain.
Well, also lest we forget that the Tijuana Bibles have always been a thing.
That's
so
true.
It's not like people haven't been making their own.
I don't know when Darkhawk goes into public domain.
You just happen to have that right there.
This is the commission.
That's nice.
Commission that I'm working on for someone who bought some art of mine. So I got to put all the stars. I just erased it. I got to put all the stars on.
Oh,
just a little bit of stuff.
BWS, Black of Stars.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think you do better to do your own thing. And
you can have your own thinly veiled character. I mean, Supreme from it's so obvious what they're commenting on. It's and including. It's not gonna. Or was it the Dave Sim issue of Spawn where all the characters were in it, but just kind of off screen a little bit, so they're
you just see their hand, right?
Yeah, it was it's clear what they're doing. So by the time they finally give it back to the public, or open it up to the public, that it's almost out there anyway.
Yeah, and I also think that one of the things that we're living through it right now actually is, and I talk about it all the time, we're actually living through a real changeover in not only media and how ideas are consumed, but we're actually really changing over the big changeover of the audience, which is like us in our generation and maybe a couple years younger, is literally like on an ice flow going in a different direction than young people coming up and consuming things, right? And so that's also going to determine whether someone who is 12 probably doesn't give a shit about Superman or Batman, really. Maybe they'll see him in a cartoon, maybe they'll see a movie, but they're not going to have the affinity for these characters that we did. Because there's so much more now.
Leon is their Superman.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Leon enters public domain in
over my dead body. Oh, I'll probably be dead. So, all right.
70
well,
years. What is it, 70 or 77 years?
yeah, that's about right. Yeah. So, well, I'm going to figure
You'll
out
be
how to.
bored by then.
I'll have a disembodied head in a jar.
That's
I'll be
right.
that guy. I'll be
You'll
floating
show
on-
up. You'll show up behind him. Hey, you. That's my character. Stop drawing it.
I'll rattle my chains. All right, you guys, let's get this party started. So, if this is your first time hanging out with the Pencil gang, oh man, you're sure for a treat.
You're so.
You are soaking in it. We're showing our age here. We have a fantastic guest in the green room. Donato Giancola is with us. I don't even know where to start to explain how masterful he is. And he is, I would say, almost a friend of the show. Mike interviewed him in Draw magazine some time ago. It's a fantastic interview. And I'm really glad we get to have him on and actually talk to him live. So, Mike, do you want to do some introductions and we'll bring him in?
Okay. I guess I've known Donato probably about 20 years, maybe longer, because I actually realized that I actually met him at a show quite a while back, because going through a bunch of stuff, I found a print of his that I got that I had signed by him. So I think I must have seen him at a show in either New York or something, but he's one of the preeminent fantasy sci-fi illustrators of today. I mean, a giant in the field, and also a really great guy who gives back a lot. And to me, that makes him an even greater artist when you are willing to share what you know and share your process and share your passion. I think that's really, really great. And if you live on the East Coast, once every year there is the EluxCon that used to be in Altoona, Pennsylvania, but is now out in Harrisburg. And you can go there, and there's all these great fantasy artists like Boris and Donato and the late Tim Hildebrandt and Michael Whalen. I mean, there was just it was like a who's who. And you could go right up to the table and, have a great talk to them and look at the original art. So if anyone is interested in, fantasy art, it was just, I think I started going there 2010 maybe. And he's also one of the probably the most preeminent Tolkien artists in the world today. It just, I think is a great example of someone whose passion for a subject actually kind of created a career. Why don't we bring him in and talk it all?
Man, he got me weepy right there. All right, guys, we're for a great treat. And also, before we get started, just for people who haven't been with us before, this is live. So if you're in the chat and you have some questions for Donato or the rest of us, please put it in the chat. I can't guarantee we'll get it on screen, but we'll do our best. Great, got it. All right, you guys, let me get my media assets together. Donato, prepare for beaming. Prepare for rendering. Guys, welcome to Pencil to Pencil. Donato Giancola. Look at you've been rendered.
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. Hey.
Thank you, Jamar, Steve, and Mike, for having me tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, we're really excited to speak with you. So I'm just going to let Mike start, and then I'll look at the chat, and we'll just go from there.
Okay.
Well, I thought we would start with maybe a little bit brief of history, your history of how you got into the business, your origin story as we usually have, gives people, I think, a little bit of perspective of where you've come from and what you thought your trajectory would be, because we all have the dream.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess, yeah. Like, well, I was born. My mother. I hope you guys have a few hours. We got a lot to cover from there. But I mean, like, but seriously, like, I do not remember when I started drawing. I had been drawing my entire life. In fact, my parents have had and saved for me a portfolio of drawings that I had done in my first grade class. And it's not just one or two drawings. There was this folder that my first grade teacher collected of my drawings, and we were able to hold on to that, and so I still have those drawings around.
That's great.
So I mean, right then I've got an abundance. So like, wow, like I must have been I did those 10,000 hours, right, to get to that. Right, I probably by the age of 4.
Amazing.
Like, and that was it. And that set me going. Yeah.
And when did you decide that you wanted to do what you're doing as like a business? Because that's always a crucial thing. There's people who stumbled into it, like a lot of the old timers did something else and then they kind of ended up there. But
right.
I have a feeling that you kind of set your sight on this.
No, I did not, actually.
You did not.
This is more of a serious answer, is that I did not have my first kind of college serious training, mentoring until I was 20 years old. My first class, my first art class was when I was 20. Wow. So up until 20, I was a hobbyist. I was drawing in my free time. And actually, that's how you know me, Mike, because of comics, because it's like I was reading comics. I was mimicking, drawing comics, George Perez, John Byrne, Walt Simonson, Bill Sienkiewicz, looking at all these illustrators, especially John Buscema with Conan. I mean, just
right.
Amazing. I mean, I just love getting the Conans when John would be drawing, and so that was the foundation of myself as an artist, was through comics. Mad Magazine. Actually, I think that was the first stuff I collected, was Mad Magazine, like stacks. Sergio Aragona is in there, Don Martin, like all these great humor characterists, and that was, so that's the abundance of comic art is really the foundation. My draftsmanship that got me to be a hobbyist, be drawing, but it wasn't until my second, like you're right, like I started in engineering. Electrical engineering at my first college, because that's sensible. It's a career. Artists are starving, right? I didn't have any role models. I grew up in Vermont, so there wasn't a large community of illustrators or painters or galleries that that I would see or turn to as a pathway that you could set your sights on, or as a roadmap example. So my first career path was to think about math, mathematics, sciences, because I was really good in that. I was as good in sciences as I was in art. So it made sense to go to sciences because I was really gifted with mathematic intuition and knowledge. But then second year in college, I got disillusioned with lack of creativity in mathematics and engineering classes, dropped out mid-semester in 3 classes, physics and engineering, 2 engineering classes, and then enrolled in my very first drawing class the next semester at the age of 20.
And what school was that?
That was at the University of Vermont. And, actually, it's a great art school.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not. or have you ever really heard? I mean, I shouldn't say that. No, that's not fair. The teachers there were amazing, but they were so aware of my potential. They said, get the hell out of here. Go to an art school, go to some place where you're going to get challenged, because they recognized my passion and my abilities and said, you need to get better training than what we can provide here.
Donato, did that go over well with your parents?
I did not consult them.
Yeah.
You can imagine how well that went over with them. I mean, they weren't, no, I should, they weren't angry. They were disappointed.
Mm.
I wasn't consulting them on this choice, because it's it was a big choice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I should have, I should have finished the classes. I was getting A's and B's in all my classes. So I should have finished up those classes just to like not drop literally mid-semester. And like, I think it was like late October, I just dropped classes.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking, stupid. That's stupid. like finish the classes. You're getting good grades. Like,
Right.
I just feel like I needed to force the change, because if I consulted my parents, I know what they'd tell me.
Mm.
Like, finish the art, get the engineering degree, do art on the side, right? You can always, do it if you really love it.
Mm.
And that wasn't the answer. I just knew I needed some, and actually it wasn't even like, so Mike, get back to your question. Like, I didn't know art was going to be it. I took history classes and I took art classes, and I didn't know if I was more interested in like medieval history because of Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, or whether the art might be a direction. So yeah, that's yeah. So there's one. Yeah.
So did you go to an art school immediately?
No, not immediately. I did. So when the teachers, they directed me towards places like School of Visual Arts, Ringling, Rhode Island School of Design.
Yeah.
So those are far away places. I had never really traveled, so wasn't very worldly.
Mm.
So I applied to Rhode Island School of Design. Did their I think I still have pictures of it. The bicycle.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You have to do these little things, drawing tests. So I applied. I got accepted, but we couldn't afford to send me. We didn't have enough money. So I took a year off, worked, saved some money, took some extra painting classes from a local painter who was actually very gifted and exhibited down in New York. He's a baseball painter and does these really great, Lance Richburg was his name. And then I got into Syracuse University in their painting program because my mother had a tuition. She worked at a college, and I could go tuition reduced at Syracuse. And so I could afford, even though Syracuse was more expensive outright, this tuition waiver helped me get there.
I love it. Oh, here's a question. Speaking about engineering, our good buddy Paul Pate did the same thing as you did, Donato, and asks, what's the relationship between engineering and art? What's that about?
I think there can be a lot, depending on what kind of art you like. And certainly, I mean, the stuff, when I the names of some of those illustrators, comic illustrators like George Perez and John Byrne, they're highly detail oriented many times, right? And that's kind of what science is about, is like precision mathematics, like getting world building. And artists that I kind of gravitate to in like art history are the Northern Renaissance Flemish painters like Jan van Eyck and Hans Memling. And these guys are like world builders, right? Every little freaking detail in there, like in the world, it's seen, it's rendered, it's realized, right? And so yeah, I think there is a lot of like balance and symbiotic relationships of how you can think and manage. So I think I still use my science brain quite a bit when I'm doing art. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, I think that go back to the Renaissance, that's what you had. You had art and science were merging. Yeah. And then you look at the Orientalists, right? They were sort of like the original concept artists, because many of those guys never traveled to those areas, but so they had to like study and, you know, basically sort of invent those scenarios, you know, the fantasy, you know, of what it was supposed to be. Right?
I mean, isn't that mostly what painters have done in history, right? Where they're imaginative, like all the mythological religious stuff we see is like that's imaginative engineering,
right? Yeah,
right. It's like it's really cool, and so obviously like that's opened up in the 19th and 20th century. It's almost exploded, right? Like the potential of what the human mind is accepting for plausible narrative visual structures is just right. I mean, if you take, I don't know, like I remember when Bill Sienkiewicz came on the scene, like with New Mutants, and it just like blew your freaking mind. Like, what the, you know, like Elektra Assassin is like, what the hell is, how can you do that? Like, it's amazing, right? Or like, yeah, Walt Simonson. I still remember like walking in to the local comic book store and seeing, what was it, issue 337 with Ray Bill like slamming that hammer down. And it's like, whoa. Yeah, that stuff. I mean, you're right. You see, like it's like 40 years ago, over 40, right? It's still like, it's in there. It's like, boom, like that's deep inside me, this stuff. Yeah.
So you were always reading comics, even all the way through like going to art school, or did you stop?
Oh, you know, I think I stopped when I got to Syracuse. No, I didn't stop completely. I shouldn't say that. Like I just was, it dropped off a bit.
Right.
I think because of my other interests, the other directions I was going. But what's funny is that even though I was slowing down on reading at Syracuse, we had a comic book club and we were making comics. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what started happening is I was taking all that energy of reading and consuming things, and it got like transferred into creation.
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, was that the place that Murray Tinkleman ran Syracuse, right?
Yes. Yeah. Murray was one of the main illustration professors, even though I actually never had him because I was in the painting department, that's a whole nother story. Is I think I applied to Syracuse and I got rejected from the illustration department. And so I reapplied and got into the painting program because, you know, you don't have to be a good draftsman to be a painter. So.
Oh, really? I
should, again, you know, I like to make jokes, but I learned some of the greatest draftsmanship from Jerome Witkin, who was the figurative painter at Syracuse University at the time.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna mention him. So you sort of had Witkin, who was a great draftsman.
Yeah.
Painting department.
Right.
And you had Tinkleman in the illustration department.
Yep.
And
yeah, like I literally played the fence between those two, like painters, illustrators. I was taking both classes and hanging out with both groups.
Yeah. I always felt that, even when I went back to school myself, that it was sort of this weird, I don't know, like holdover from the old days where there was some animosity between, well, you're just an illustrator and I'm a fine artist. But the further back you go, they marry, right?
Yeah.
Skill was skill. You know, it wasn't until really, I think, the 30s and then in the 40s and then Clement Greenberg and all that.
Well, yeah, it's the birth of the modernism, the art genius of market. Basically, came down to a marketing thing, right? Of structured marketing around individual character and identity.
So you took advantage of being able to sort of like milk both worlds. In a way.
Totally. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
And what year would have that been?
Oh, geez, when did I got into Syracuse in '89, graduated in 1992, and moved immediately within a couple months down to New York City. because New York is where all the galleries are. It's where, basically 2 of the 3 comics publishers were. Dark Horse was out in I think Dark Horse had just started up, was out in
Portland,
Oregon.
Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Oregon, that's it. And then DC and Marvel were still based in New York City.
So did you think that you would still somehow get in doing comics, or?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like half of my body of work, I shouldn't say half, a third, because I had like fine art painting, I had illustration, science fiction, fantasy, and then I had comics. And I had 3 different portfolios for each of those.
So you had like 3 drop. So you go in and have like 3 drop offs. Like, here, I'm dropping at a gallery. Here, I'm going up to DC, or
just about. Although, like that it is. I did have, like, I was thinking of that total like separation, because this is where the great business. Like, I had a business class at Syracuse, and that was with the illustration department. And they got you into thinking about your portfolio, about marketing, target marketing, going after specific art directors or publishers to share your work, and therefore really controlling the visual presentation for that one client. So you really create almost a separate portfolio for each separate client you might approach. So that was, it was really that business class was really instrumental in helping me, think about that. So, I was going to say, I've got some, like, if we share my screen, I think I've got some of that comic art.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Let me, and I've actually got a whole like folder of like college level art, but it's like, we're going to be here all night.
Whenever you're ready, pull it up, Steve, if you want to grab.
Let's see if I could get, here we go. I can show college form. Let's see if it'll, if I can, what's going to show up here if I pop it. So some of the comic art, here we are. You guys see that one?
All I see is it looks like an index.
Okay, so it's an index. I got to change my. Let me stop that screen share, and let me present just my whole screen. I think I'll have to do that so that everyone can. I'll be able to pull that up.
Everybody has their opera glasses. They can't wait.
So here we go. There's one of the pen and ink works. I think that's my first year at second year at Syracuse for doing some stuff for the comic book club. Yeah.
Wow. Right.
And let's see. And also, I had some friends who were art directing at the Daily Orange, which was the daily newspaper. And I did a weekly comic strip about this wizard. And so I would just, come up with, and had just, again, it was a very wonderful way to be introduced to professionalism, because you had a deadline, you had to finish it, you got to submit it, you got to get it ready for press. And so really cool to have to do that.
Love the lettering.
Oh, yeah.
Donato, that reminded me a little bit. I don't know if you were reading Larry Elmore's Snarf Quest in the Back of Dragon magazine.
I had not read his stuff back then. I think that's when I was kind of done reading the Dragon. Why is that, Jamar? Was there something special about?
Well, just kind of like, kind of taking kind of like a fantasy bit and putting it in the comic strip format, which is kind of really fresh.
Yeah, that's I think that who else? Phil Foglio, right?
Yeah.
What's new with oh man, I'll rescind my nerd card.
Yeah. for his all of his strips, right, that he was doing. No, it was amazing. And but the whole experience at Syracuse, because what's amazing is that comic book club that we had gave kind of birth to, I think, at least 5 professionals who we all ended up working within the illustration, the comics and science fiction fantasy illustration field, even to this day.
Like who?
Fred Van Lente, who's a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the name? Or
Oh yeah, his books. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fred was one of my fellow comic book club members while I was there. Steve Ellis, who does it's High Moon, and he's coming out with a new one, Bigfoot. What's the name of that character? But it's a new comic that he's working on now. Ryan Dunleavy, who does a little more, right. These were all fellow peers in the comics industry at the time. Yeah. So yeah.
Steve, do you think that we can make his images bigger if we change the format of the guests, or is it?
I think if we can make the screen exclusive, I think if they're able to open those in like preview and share just the preview window, and instead of the whole screen, then we can get the quite a bit bigger.
Oh, let me see actually, since it's one folder, I think I can do it in preview.
Sweet.
And then we can hit it with another right, and then reshare it as a preview screen, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
You guys, okay.
Yeah, at least like one window.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get that in preview. And let's see. Let me see if I can hit this as a play, as a slideshow. Where do we do that? Tools.
So what kind of feedback were you getting when you were going up to Marvel in DC?
I didn't. I actually never dropped off my work for them as a as a portfolio. Like I never dropped it off to them. Like
so you did it, you moved there, and so who were you dropping your portfolio off to?
So Syracuse had a portfolio review process for graduating seniors where they would take like all the illustrators, all the graphic designers, commercial designers, and they would invite professionals to this place called Lubin House, which was Syracuse's New York City based townhouse, and they would host like a portfolio review process for 3 days, and art directors were invited, creative directors from the city, from New York City, right? This was before the internet, so they actually were able to get a lot of people to come to these reviews and look at the students' portfolios. And at that portfolio review, students weren't there, but art directors could leave their names and enter information there. And a artist representative saw my portfolio. A few of them did, but with this one guy in particular, Sal Baraka, left his contact information. And I ended up working with Sal to build a portfolio because he wanted a book cover illustrator to do science fiction and fantasy covers, because he was getting so many requests for them. He didn't have enough artists to manage the flood, the growth of science fiction and fantasy cover work that he was needing to fill for his clients.
And that landed you your first cover?
Yep. So what's funny is I tell the students, like your whole body of work you make as an artist, as a student, right? You're building like I graduated with comic art and all this stuff. Basically, we just like wiped that off, like threw it out. There was one image we could use, and then I started month by month making a new cover sample for Sal.
Wow.
So after 6 cover samples, which is basically getting into December, he finally felt like I had improved enough. I had enough work consistency, and that landed, and he got me my first book cover assignment.
I think that's a really important thing, because a lot of times people, this the pressure on the student to build your portfolio, and then it's like, like the 12 labors of Hercules or whatever, you can just slough off, but you realize like you said, that's like you got to always be making new stuff.
Yep. Yeah, totally. It was, and that's what was so wacky was, and that's why I never submitted for comics when you're asked, because Sal gave me that opening, like to like, here's a chance to do some work, and I focused on that. That was my first opportunity. That's my first chance to become a professional. And so I just pushed comic art to the side and just focused on making stuff for Sal.
Now, how were you? He wasn't paying you for that, was he?
No, that was all. Yeah, that was all me. Like literally I'd come in with sketches. He would give me feedback and I'd go back and make and work on the sample and come back the next month and do the next thing. And so he saw that I was working with him. What was great about that was I was building a good professional relationship with Sal. And I was showing him that I could embrace critical feedback. I could make modifications just like a professional cover illustrator would. And so I think that's what made him comfortable with being willing to represent me in the end, because of my professionalism and working with him through the process of making these samples, these cover samples.
Now, what were you doing to feed your face in the meantime?
I was the coat check guy at the Society of Illustrators.
Well, that's a good place to be the coat check guy.
Yeah, it was. So that was, I worked there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So what are you showing us here? These are.
Well, this is all college work. This is just an abundance of I love Genesis. So here's my two characters for my science fiction role playing. So I do this is a totally Ian Miller, if you know Ian's work as an English illustrator, doing the cross hatching craziness. But this is 89, so this is before I even got to Syracuse. This is me as a kind of a hobbyist. This is what I was capable of doing as a hobbyist. Oh, there's the bicycle. There's the bicycle piece from RISD. Yeah.
Is this marker? What do you think you're working on?
That one, it's pencil with some charcoal in there, I think. Wow. Yeah, it's a combo. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the viewers who don't know, Syracuse had Ringling had
RISD, Rhode Island School of Design.
Right, RISD had a test, and one of the tests was to do 3 drawings of a bicycle, right?
I think it was one drawing.
One drawing? Okay.
Yeah, one drawing, yeah.
Right, yeah. And
so
a lot of schools now don't have any entrance requirements now. They're just like, you got to check. But it used to be that the top schools you had to submit a portfolio. I had a student who went to PAFA who went to Art Center, and she had some issues because I think she wanted to go into entertainment, right? Because they broke it up like entertainment. They had the people that do the car stuff, illustration. And now they have animation, and then they had entertainment. And the entertainment was the stuff to do, like the concept stuff, which is what you wanted to do. But they were like, no, we think you're
one of these other people.
Yeah. So she actually had to do a whole other series of another portfolio and resubmit, and then they let her in.
Wow. Because I think RISD was, I don't know. I don't know if other schools did it because, being very not even narrow-minded, but just without RISD was the only place I applied to. It was like because I couldn't see myself going to California. New York was like crime and drug infested and criminal and stuff was bad there. So I live in New York. I've been living here since I moved to New York. So, but it was that perception, right? The public projection.
And that was the 80s, so that was before it was all Disney-fied.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. but yeah, so this was like the only test that I actually ever did for the art. Syracuse didn't have it; they just had a portfolio review. Yeah. Oh, and this is that guy Lance Richburg. This is one of the paintings I did for him, getting into like gestural abstraction a little bit. This is the idea of driving at night.
Okay.
He got me to paint emotionally, which then opened my mind up to how Bill Sienkiewicz works. And it's like, that's what he's doing. He's like gestural and feeling, but combined with technical precision. And it's like, so I think in here I've got an Iron Man somewhere of that. So yeah, like doing weird. These are assignments for Syracuse. I'll just scroll through a whole mess of these. Here's some of my earliest fan art of Middle Earth. Here, this is after having one of my first painting classes at University of Vermont.
Wow.
So this is me just doing montage fan stuff.
And so you were a fan of the Middle Earth stuff from way back, right?
Yeah, like my whole life. I should say, ever since my brother handed me The Hobbit to read when I was 13 years old, I became the fan. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, like this is another one of those Lance Richburg paintings. Expressive gestural, playing with like the impressionism, right? Really heavy paint impressionism. There's more of that comic strip, surrealism at Syracuse. See if I could scroll down, see if I could find that Iron Man that's kind of more relevant to the idea of melding thematic stuff together. So comics, here it is. So here, this is what so after that, right? Right, totally, right? You see the total Bill Sienkiewicz, right? But I couldn't go there until I had this other, this introduction to expressionistic painting. Like I didn't know how Bill could work.
Right.
And then the guidance that I could get from this painter, Lance Richburg, made me see and the possibility open up. And I think that's what I want to share also with the audience here, you got the people and young artists, is like, I would not be the artist I am here today without those kind of teachers, the teachers at the University of Vermont, the drawing teachers there, the painting teachers like Lance Richburg, the painting and drawing teachers like Jerome and Sharon Gold at Syracuse. I mean, these are artists who really broadened my visual capabilities, my visual vocabulary to be able to grow to be where I am now. I mean,
And the other thing is you were open to it, because not every student is open to exploring.
Yeah, that's the thing I want to beat people who go, I hated this teacher. This teacher was horrible. And I was like a sponge. It's like, every teacher has something they can teach you. You can learn something from everybody. And so, like, yeah, you don't have to do it. It doesn't have to become part of you, but they have something valid to teach, and you should listen, right? And that's I think that was key for me. It was I was a sponge because I wanted to become an artist, and I didn't want to have to. I was used to one of the greatest motivators I had becoming an artist was selling retail electronics.
Fantastic.
It was like, yeah, like I want to do anything with art so I don't have to sell electronics. Yeah.
So what is this we're looking at?
Oh, this is my first year at Syracuse as an oil painter. So doing hobbits, my own little narrative. No one in particular. Could be Sam and Frodo, but it wasn't. It was just a pair of hobbits out on an active discovery, wandering around. So
that's fantastic. It looks like you ratcheted it up quickly too.
Yeah, that's what's fascinating, is like these plateaus. Again, this particular piece was capable, and I should say, inspired by the teacher Sharon Gold, because she introduced me to glazing in mediums, and I like immediately like glommed onto it, like whoa, oh wow, and like played around. There's some and the sheer abundance of doing quantity of paint. So this is the first painting I did in her class with this new glazing technique.
Wow.
And just like funky surrealism, a little Giger-esque, dark stuff.
Donato, I have a question. Did you catch any flack for your subject matter with any of your instructors?
You know what? It was interesting. Like not much, because I think they were good teachers, that they recognized that where I was coming, like they embraced the plurality, right, of the individual. I think my best teacher there was this woman, Sharon Gold, the one who introduced me to this painting medium. She really challenged me on my fantasy and science fiction stuff and my narrative stuff. So she got me to not reject it, right, but to question why I'm doing it. Right. And that was important, like getting those whys, like, why are you doing this? What choices are you making? And so I was doing like, so this is a Giger-esque, totally like H.R. Giger-esque inspired painting, but with the guidance and questioning from Sharon, like, why are you fascinated with these kind of environments? And so it got me to push further with my engagement of my passions, my personal interests, and then merge those with the growth of conceptualism and deconstruction and then therefore reconstruction into a new narrative of information with these works. So yeah, it was, I mean, I credit her with allowing me and embracing my my personal interests, and allowing me then to grow and flourish at Syracuse under guidance like that. Yeah.
I think that's really important, because sometimes teachers want to mold you into like little versions of themselves.
Yeah. That's there's a little bit of like, I think that's what I didn't like a little bit about some of the illustration classes, because they were teaching like hard commercialism, which was little bit of that molding. But I also love the directional intent, right, of what narrative illustration it was, that's what I love doing. So that's that balance. Like, so I love that required parameter structure, that commercial like illustration classes, but then the freedom of emotional interpretive structure that I was getting in my painting classes. And so I think I'm a good child of like these two I don't know, hybrids. I don't know, Griffin, like, like, okay, get the eagle, messing with the lion, like those two shouldn't really mix. What the hell comes out of that thing? I was like, oh, Donato comes out of that. That's what comes out of it. I guess. Like, yeah.
And it also, I mean, it looks like you did your 10,000 hours, and then you did your other 10,000 hours, or your, the 300 bad paintings you've got to do to get to your first good painting or whatever. So one of my teachers told me that,
Yeah, totally. So this is actually in my first drawing class that I talked about, that when the teacher said, you need to go somewhere else. So this is a black and white photo reproduction graphite of black and white photo, like probably many of us have done. Yeah. And so I loved it. I did a bunch of these things. Boom, boom, boom. And I started selling them. My brother and his friends started commissioning me to do a few of these black and white photo reproduce things. Bob Dylan, this one I did for my brother. Yeah. Oh, and I should say, no, my brother's friend. So this one was one of those commissions. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, just like, again, this is just like a like here we go, doing pen and ink work. This is the hobbyist stuff. Yeah. Science.
Dude just got 300 off of that.
What's that?
He caught that Sparta kick right there.
Oh, that's right, yeah, boo, yeah.
But all the cast shadows and everything, so much darkness. It's really lovely.
Yeah, like I was. This is a little bit of like heavy metal Mobius. But obviously not the technical, but the environmental construct, right? Is total Mobius. Yeah, I mean it's just like abundance. Doing draftsmanship. This is a figure drawing with Jerome Witkin that I mentioned. Learning from him. So he had to study old master drawing. So I was doing this stuff by the time I left Syracuse. Like really good anatomical awareness.
Donato, I have a sidebar question. When you were in school, did you have any kind of rivals, or did you have like a clique of other artists who kind of you respected in your class?
Oh no, no, you know what? Not in my classes. The painting classes were almost a joke. It was like, I was the technical guy who could paint better than some of my teachers. Yeah. But they were putting up, you just had to laugh. Like sometimes, you'd see what some of the students would put up, and I just know they did it like the night before. Yeah, you still smell it, right? Yeah. Yeah, but my peers, Jamar, were the comic book club. I mean, that's what's really fascinating is that, I was learning this stuff during the day, right, doing classes, but then our once a week meeting, I think it was Thursday nights or Wednesday nights, we'd have the comic book club meeting. And then, then we'd be sharing what we've been working on. And my arch nemesis was Steve Ellis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Steve was an incredible draftsman. Oh man, he was blowing me out of the water. And I'm like, oh damn it, look how good he is. And so but funny, it's so funny. Steve felt the same way about me. So he was like, oh, that Donato. Like, I wasn't Donato then. I was Dan. I was Dan Giancola. So so it was like, oh damn it, what's he doing? What's he doing next week? So we would like amp it up on. And so I'm saying that because my final year we teamed up together to do this comic.
Wow. Yeah. I like the Simonson lettering.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
It is. This is like Akira, blend. And so Steve and I did this 10-page comic together. Wow. And so I didn't do crap for my assignments for school. This stuff took all my energy.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's awesome.
Is that like rapidograph? Like what are you doing?
Rapidograph, ink brush. So I did the architecture, and Steve did the figures. So the page on the left is basically all me, except those two little guys in the foreground. And then Steve and I, because we inked pretty similar, we just each did a different page. So Steve did the page on the right, and I inked the page on the left. And you almost couldn't even tell who did what on that.
It's a wonder why we all wear glasses.
Right? But that was a great time. Like that comic book club. So I said, we would meet weekly, but then we'd meet on the weekends because we had to put together the comics and talk about the production. So
did you produce them? Did you print them?
Yeah, I got them in the other room. We've actually got physical comics.
Wow, that's
and
great.
we went to the student government and got a budget so we could print them. And obviously we didn't sell crap. But we had them. We printed hundreds of them, distributed them all around.
That's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was an incredible lesson of professionalism. Like I mentioned, deadlines, production, getting stats done, mock-ups for the stats, and harassing other illustrators who weren't delivering stuff on time. You had to hey, come on, we need we're doing the mock-ups right this weekend, and then make then making it, like seeing it printed, seeing what works visually, like density, how things print, right? It was a tremendous growth experience.
This is bringing like boards to the printer. This isn't our stats to the printer. This isn't digital. No one's emailing anything.
No, there's no email. Yeah, like this is all like all this stuff, hand cut up lettering for titles.
So one thing did you get from this, especially doing such detailed work like when the Ellis Jam?
Yeah.
Did you start to kind of figure out how your fidelity changed? When everything kind of gets shrinks down, and you start to kind of lose things in the ink. Those kind of little things that happen with projects like that.
Yeah, I became aware of that, Jamar, but it didn't stop me from putting in detail. It was like
what you like, right? I mean,
that's what I liked.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's important because it really like kind of formed my artistic intent. It's like I wasn't going to sacrifice for the process. Right? I was going to make this stuff because that's what I needed to do as an artist. That's just what was in me, and like I wasn't going to sacrifice it. And so I think that was really key to helping to develop, even to where I am now. Like I don't do stuff for reproduction. I do it because it's what I want to do. That's like, is that Mike? Got a call. Yeah. So yeah, that's important. Yeah, Jabbar. Like I don't know if you guys feel that way, right? You do stuff like because that's the way it needs to be done. Right?
Sure.
Yeah. And I also think that when you're working for yourself, that's sort of like the like your what I call like your emotional engine. That's what drives you.
Right.
When you do work on something that's purely commercial, or maybe you take a job, your agent gives you a job, you don't really have a passion for that particular subject, but then you've got to find something about the process or the drawing or a technique or something to engage you so you can actually do it.
Yeah. What to motivate you mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, sometimes at 3:00 in the morning and you're working on a job that's not, you're doing it because, you want the money, you got to make the deadline and everything.
Right.
But you still, you can fall in love with like rendering the light on a shoe or something.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what keeps you sane, right? If you can, that's what's going to keep you going at 2 a.m. is those little moments of integrity and passion that you connect to, right? So this is a totally Alien Legion, if you know, right?
Right, yeah. I was going to say, yeah.
So, so that was the character. Once the Alien Legion came, I was like, oh, that's one of our characters in our science fiction, world building. So here's some of the pages we had from. I don't think they're not in order, just the way. Unfortunately, we're preview how they sort stuff here, but these are some examples of that final year at Syracuse with Steve Ellis and I.
So now, once you started doing, your agent got you your first cover. Was that sort of like, did that crack the seal, sort of like, and then you were really like off doing covers?
I mean, literally, like the first cover. Actually, it was I got 3 covers. Because they were literally bottom feeder jobs. They were for Walmart. Walmart was taking copyright-free novels and republishing them. So like Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. So these are the first covers that I did for them. And they were lower paying, so none of his other illustrators wanted to do them. And so they were great test points for me because they were low. It wasn't a big client commitment because it was like a one-time deal with Walmart. There were like 30 titles, so he just needed to get them done. So he called me in and gave me the list and said, "Which ones do you want to do?"
Wow,
and I'm like,
that's cool.
"Oh, can I do all of them?" He was like, "I'll do all of them," but he needed them in 2 months. So it's like, oh.
What did you just agree to? Right? Yeah.
That's right. What I was like, I want to do them all. Like, no, what? So I was doing one new sample a month, and I said, you know what? If I bust my ass, I can do 3. So I said, I'll do 3 covers, and those are my first 3, and then that led to the next jobs that he got for me, and like it just snowballed right from there. Yeah.
Do you have those first 3?
Yeah, I can pull those up. Yeah. Let's see. Let me get out of the. I guess should I just keep this preview screen going? I can just drag stuff into there, I guess.
We can try it.
Yeah, I think it'd be easier than start. I guess maybe not. Maybe I'll just because it's gonna just get full with a lot of stuff, right?
And also just we have to watch the clock. So
right, yeah, we're gonna
get to some of your modern stuff too.
Yeah, actually, we got some questions if you guys want to.
Yeah, here you go. David Peterson, read Mouse Guard, one of my favorite books.
Oh, I know. I love his Dave's work. Yeah, I got a couple of his originals in the house. Yeah.
There he is, right there. Look at that. all roads lead to Pencil. David says, for folks who are familiar with Donato's work now, can we see some contemporary tonal studies and paintings, please?
Some contemporary. Let's see. Should we skip over?
Yeah, you can just jump into what you're working on now, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. So here we go. Let's see. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Here, I got right here. This is the newest stuff right here.
Hold on, let me give you the screen. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Go ahead. All right.
I'll pull this up on the JPEGs because it'll be better. But these are interiors To Green Angel Tower by Tad Williams. It's a reissue that they're doing.
So that's what, oil on illustration board?
Yeah, on board, a lightweight board. Yeah. And so that's kind of one of the techniques I've been using to expedite the whole visual process. So I make my drawings, but I then mount the drawings down onto that, not mount them, but print it out onto the lighter weight illustration board. So I don't have to redraw everything and then just paint that completely from there. So here I'm gonna get these up and running here in a second. Once I get the there we go, present.
And Steve, do you want to grab that when it comes up?
Yeah, we'll do. We did have a question. Halo Gray on YouTube asked, when did you know that you had to do it professionally and make that ultimate switch? Apart from just the selling electronics or hanging up
All right.
Checking one too many coats at the.
Hey, Halo, how you doing? Thanks for joining in here. When was it? I think it was when I switched majors. Like when I dropped out of engineering and told my parents that I was thinking of art or history, and they were supportive. They immediately they didn't reprimand me much at all. They just said, you know what, whatever you do, make sure that you can make a living at it. Right? Yep. No pressure.
Yeah. Right.
But that was like, so in a way, my dedication to what I was doing when I got to Syracuse finally was to make sure I didn't have to look at my parents and say, I can't make this work. Right? I abandoned the path that they would have wanted for me. So I needed to prove that I could do it for them.
What are we looking at here?
Sorry. This is an abstract. This is how I work, actually, process-wise. This is like the really rough abstract, thumbnails, you might call them, for a book cover for the two Green Angel Tower here. And right, you can see all my attention to anatomy and detail. But here, so that is the rough. And let me find let's see if I've got the preliminary drawing for that somewhere in here. There it is. There we go.
Wow.
So you see that? There's the mathematical mind at play.
Yeah.
Right? There's that Donato, with Steve Ellis doing those crazy environments, that science fiction comic art. Right? It's all there. I'm still doing it. I just completed this earlier this year.
So now, what is this? What size is that?
The drawing is about 20 by 30 inches.
Okay, and that's in pencil.
That is correct. Yep.
And what kind of surface is that?
That's just a regular Strathmore 500 series drawing paper.
Okay.
Yep. And there's the final.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So now you take that pencil drawing and you transfer it to a sheet of illustration paper?
No, this time I actually make a copy of that on the same paper of Strathmore, but it's plate finish, so it's really smooth. And then I wet mount that to a panel, like a birch veneer plant panel, because at that scale I want something stiffer for my support. And then so this is the final size on this is 24 inches tall, 40 inches wide. So
that is you painting over your pencil drawing.
That's right. And there we are. There's a process shot of it there. In between. Yeah.
Wow.
So the pencil I should say it's a copy of the pencil drawing, Mike.
Right.
That way I preserve the pencil. I don't sacrifice it, at the altar of the art gods, that much detail in drawing.
Right.
I save the drawing, and so by having a copy, I still have all the information, all the detail, but just not the original that's on the bottom there.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you doing a lot of glazing here? Is that what you're doing?
This is mostly opaque paint.
Okay.
The initial, like you can see on this one, the right-hand side on this, that's acrylic that I do as initial washes for kind of blocking in, but using very transparent application so I can see my draftsmanship and drawing of the my anatomical structures that I need to follow. And then I opaquely, like over on the left side, are as I'm going in with oils, I'm going pretty opaque to near finish as much as I can on that initial pass.
Our good buddy JRD asked, how the heck do you avoid smudging drawing at that size?
Smudging?
Yeah, like and your pencil.
Oh, I don't even worry about it. Like smudge. Yeah, whatever. It's like I used to love smudging because it would give it a nice, cool value structure, and then I would erase out some of the whites where I wanted highlights. So I love the tonal quality that sometimes smudging brings. So you don't see it here, but here we go. This is how I actually sometimes like to do little smaller drawings. Are these tonal studies? So I love smudging because it plays with that middle tone value that nearly all paintings become.
Right.
Almost all visual painted artwork is. It's got value structure. It's not black and white, right? I mean, comics is right. Pen. So that it's interesting. I've ended up, leaving the graphic structure in some ways of comics behind as I embrace this painterly side of me that evolved out of my classes at Syracuse and those initial painting classes.
That painting, that large horizontal painting. What was that? That was a book cover.
Yeah, this is a book cover.
I'm trying to figure out the configuration of it. Is that the front? It's a crime to cover any of that with type.
Well, it is. It works both ways. It's a wraparound, and so here this is the kind of pressure that my clients throw at me. This novel was published in the 80s, and the original cover artist was this artist you might know, Michael Whalen.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure.
No, and it's also one of Michael Whalen's like greatest covers that he's ever done. It was like, oh my God, I got to play in that shadow. Like, damn. So yeah, so that was a little tough. Let me see if I can get the PDF file to show here. for that.
Do they give you the logo?
No, they don't. So I didn't have to do logo. As you can see, I don't do logo considerations when I'm doing these paintings. Oh, come on, where did it go? I thought I dragged it in here properly. I've got it. Oh, here. Actually, maybe I can share the PDF. Let me pull it up here, and I'll just change my share and present.
So how what kind of turnaround are we looking at? On that.
This one's a little crazy because I actually spent almost 2 full months painting this cover.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every day, or do you skip, or do you mix it up and go work on something else and then come back?
This was like almost non-stop for 2 months. So here's Steve. So this is what happened. It's a cover that can be flipped, working for both. And so this is the type design. So I suggested that they angle it because there's a lot of angle structures in this particular composition. And I think I'll see if I got the other version here. If it'll pull here into. It's not gonna allow me to easily pull it up here. Yeah. But you can see it reverses out, and there's the second part of it's a 2-part book series. That's why they have it. Yeah.
Wow.
So now, how did you come to this particular process where you're working on the printout and mounting it, and then working in oils?
You know what? It goes all the way back to those cover samples I did with Sal Baraka. Because I was taking my comic, dense narrative structures, compositions, and I was projecting that, wanting to do that in book covers. And you could imagine, the hell that you would go through trying to transfer a multi-configured architectural composition craziness. And I was losing my mind doing these tracings, and at the same time ruining the drawing by retracing over it.
Right.
Yeah. And so by the time, I think the very last sample I was working on for Sal Baraka, I realized I could make a copy of my drawing and glue it down and then paint on that instead. Because one of my illustration teachers introduced me to the idea of working on a copy. He didn't have the mounting process down, but the idea that you could make a copy and then I think he was doing pastels on top of it. So he's copying it onto a heavy watercolor paper. And then he was working pastels back over his drawing. And it's I think that, again, this is an example of what teachers can do for you, right? So that triggered in my mind that, wait, if I make a copy, I can somehow, and I've heard about people mounting watercolor paper.
Right.
So let me try that. And so I didn't have watercolor paper. I had 20-pound bond paper, which is, if you ever get it wet when it's 3 feet by 2 feet, it's like a giant sheet of wet toilet paper. And you're trying to carefully not get it to rip. You're trying to mount it down.
My goodness.
But I got it to work, and I didn't have to draw and trace the compositions again.
That's amazing.
Donato, we have a couple questions headed the same direction. David Peterson asks, did you know it would be mirrored? And then our good buddy Eternity Forever says, brilliant. Who had the idea to make it a flip cover? Was it easier to compose in the opposite direction?
It was, the reason why it was a flip cover, because Whalen did a flip cover on it. So they wanted to mimic that if I could. And I go, okay, that's a challenge. And then to be honest, I just made sure I had 2 focal points on either side. Mm-hmm. So on the right-hand side, you see there, which is reversed now, but it's that white rider, the white horsed rider up front. And then on the back cover, I just put a little, to change it up, and put a little series of like 4 or 5 riders dense together, but one a little bit more prominent, the guy in the green with a little gray horse. So he's a little more prominent. And then the flag. So I let the battle, the lack of individuality pervade a little more on that one, just so that it set itself off. And then obviously a summer and winter contrast playing itself out as well in the composition for color.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Donato, I want to check in with you. We're kind of like running out of road here. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to start wrapping up?
Well, I've got 3,000 more pictures to share.
Well, why don't we jump to some of the more of the Lord of the Rings, and you can talk about your process about like how you came to sort of really become known for that. I mean, that's like your, people when they think of you now, I think they think of you as like the Tolkien artist.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess some people do, right? Some people think of me as a magic artist.
Magic for like
right.
170, 180 paintings for magic.
Yeah, something like that. Like I think it may be even over 200 now.
Oof. Wow.
But actually, I'm kind of done. Like Wizards, pissed me off too much this past year, so I'm kind of done with them as a client. That's a whole other story. I think, Mike, you wanted to.
Right. Yeah, we wanted to sort of as you start showing some of the Hobbit stuff, you might touch on a little bit of what I think is actually a very important thing that you've done, which you sort of stood up for artists' rights with.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of ceased working with Wizards. They were stripping away aftermarket potential, not just aftermarket earnings from the artists that they were working with, and speaking, since we're on Lord of the Rings, this was actually one of the critical things. Magic came out with a Lord of the Rings set. When they announced it, I'm like, oh, freaking awesome. I've been, a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I can't wait to work on this set and make Middle Earth art for Magic. I mean, what an incredible synergy right there. Like me doing both. I'm already a Magic artist. I love Tolkien. Like, this will be awesome. No. They had a digital only requirement. No original art, no sketches, no preliminaries, no play mats, no proofs, no nothing for the artists. I mean, I'm still pissed. I'm still mad at Wizards for doing that. It is horrible. And if you guys know the market, if you followed the magic art market, right? Like it was going really strong and still is a little. It's gone down a bit, but a Middle Earth painting, a Gandalf painting, an Aragorn, a Frodo, the One Ring painting, right? These things would have sold for thousands upon thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars for the artists who could create and be on those products. And I'm not saying like it's trying to like be a money grab, but it's a way that the artist could, like me, vest a tremendous amount of integrity and labor in developing beautiful images to celebrate the game, celebrate with the fans, and to make beautiful art that then could be collected and preserved as a representation of that experience of that game.
And you point out on your blog that the page rate, the card rate, had been exactly the same for almost 30 years, like since 1996.
Well, there were fluctuations, but mostly, I was paid my final year doing magic art. I was paid $1,000 for some of the cards, and I got paid $1,000 for my very first magic cards 27 years ago.
Wow!
Like, do the math, right? I mean, that's horrible, right? So the fact that I was willing to do that because I could capitalize on the aftermarket. Right. I knew I could put my energies into making beautiful paintings and selling them. But then they come out with this Lord of the Rings set and say, sorry, Donato. They didn't say specifically, but sorry, traditional artists, we're not hiring you for this set. It's a digital only set. No one is going to sell any aftermarket product, even though it doesn't impact at all the sales of the product, the set at all. We don't want you to make any money, and we don't want you to make a good living, not even a great living, just a living off your art. And I found that it was so upsetting and so disingenuous to supporting the community of artists that are out there loving and passionate about magic, about fantasy art, and they're not there supporting in a really minor way just these issues. And so it still upsets me even now, because I think of all the artists that are trying to make a living. Like magic was always only a very small part of what I did as an artist. And so that's why I could speak out. That's why I could come out and forcefully reject their terms and comment about it, because I know other artists can't, because they rely on that. Right. And so I needed to say something, because I could, and I can, and I still will.
So they specifically are doing it digital to deny the artist the
I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, but it is a denial, right?
Yeah.
The end result is a denial. They may be doing it because 3 years ago when they got this idea, they were thinking NFTs. Maybe we can come out with NFTs of our magic art. That's true. Right. I'm sure they were talking about it, right? And so, or they were thinking of because now they have the limited, like the One Ring is only one, right? So if you have an original painting, then the One Ring card isn't as unique, because the One Ring card is only the printed physical representation of that one ring, right? So if the artist had the sketches and the artwork, then it would, in a way, diminish the value of that card, which kind of is a little, but okay, so that's the One Ring. What about Gandalf cards? What about Aragorn cards, right? Come on. It's like, so maybe you could have said, okay, for the One Ring, we're not having a physical painting made. But to deny, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. This was millions of dollars that were taken out of the pockets of the illustrators. We're talking about almost 400 cards, I think, for that set. And those cards, that's not. I mean, that was a conservative estimate I put together for the sketches, the preliminaries, the proofs, all the play mats, paintings that could all be utilized. So here I could scroll through some of my Middle Earth work here while I'm talking. But that's what upset me, and still does, is that fact that they stripped that out of the pockets of illustrators.
So now, how did you come to, you're obviously a big fan and very passionate about Middle Earth. And so did you just start doing these on your own and showing them to people, or, because you sort of like built a market for yourself with this. And you were saying before we went on that you were not contacted by the Tolkien estate and commissioned to do it.
Right. So I'm going to find you. So my very first official Tolkien product was the Iron Crown Enterprises Middle Earth card game back in the mid 90s. That came out. I'm trying to find one of my favorite or not so favorite card images from that set. Let's see.
Are these all cards that are scrolling by?
Oh, this is, so here we go. Here's one. This is a later one that I did a better job on. So these are little tiny oil paintings. No, not all of these are cards. Sorry. A lot of these are my work. So it's the cards are. Oh, here it is. This is the amazing Donato doing Gandalf here, and it's okay, but it's like, I call it the laughing Santa Claus Gandalf, because his beard is so kind of bad, and his robes are kind of so bad. So I'm gonna have to hit you all guys with a little flashy light, like the Men in Black so you all don't remember this.
It's fantastic.
But I was also doing like so these are, and here's another. So this is a good one. This is one that came out pretty nice.
And I keep hitting the wrong button. That's all me, guys.
Okay. So yeah, some of them they're like hit and miss. So some were good, some were okay. Mostly they were kind of really mediocre.
Donato, what size were you doing the card art? At your normal canvas size, or
Oh
were you
no,
making smaller?
These were tiny, like 6 by 9 inches. Really, because they were paid $150.
Wow. I mean, but still, I mean, working in oil for that's a lot of work. At 6 by 9, you're still.
It was crazy. It was like, so that's why some of them are like not so good. Like these are right? And so what happened was, so I did like 30 of these cards. And this was my Tolkien. This was like my first chance to do Tolkien, and it's like mediocre kind of work. And like I felt so bummed about it, because it's like I wanted my Tolkien work to be amazing. So this is one of the better ones. I spent a little more time on it. But again, these are just like, I think this is 6 by 8 inches. This is really tiny. And so about 3 years after that, or 4 years after that, I luckily got a call from the Science Fiction Book Club to do a commission of a Lord of the Rings cover. And I go, okay, I'm going to redeem myself from those playing card things, because they were so they're so horrible, so fast, and where is it? I got to just find it.
I love the shadow on the hand that's punching up.
Yeah, that's the book cover kind of stuff. Like really being aware of lighting.
Gorgeous.
And were you getting models and shooting stuff, or you were just
this stuff? No, I was kind of making up stuff at this small level, because I didn't have time and money to do much more than that. And but when I'm trying to find that first cover illustration for Lord of the Rings. Oh, come on. Like, how is it not in here?
We're gonna have that Gandalf image in our head unless you find it.
I know. Here, I'll have this one as a placeholder. There's the Gandalf I can now do. But it was but that Lord of the Rings cover really allowed me. Oh, so here's the one that's close enough. So this one was so the Lord of the Rings led to the cover for The Hobbit, then to execute. And so this was me doing the painting that I could do and I wanted to do, and that I took the time to execute. So this is if Caravaggio or Peter Paul Rubens did Lord of the Rings, that's how I was thinking about it. How would Caravaggio paint the Lord of the Rings? And that's the kind of painting I want to make. That's what motivated me.
That bold yellow on the sleeve. Wow.
Yeah, well, because in Tolkien mentions that hobbits love to wear bright colors. So I go, oh yeah, let me put Bilbo in like a really bright moment here, compositionally. Yeah. Jeez. Okay.
And were you doing the same thing with the pencil mounted on the board? And
yeah, so this is all like 95% of what I've done over the years is that process in my work. Yeah.
And also, can I just say that how impressed I am by your archiving of your work.
Thanks.
Like, it seems like you have everything. Is that? I know this is kind of like off subject, but like, do you, after you finish with a project, do you kind of like set it up for the vaults? You know what I mean? Do you archive it, you letter it, you number it, you put it away, you shoot it, and then add it to your files?
Exactly. Like and I think that was instilled by who got me to do that. I think both my teachers at University of Vermont and at Syracuse. It was like a professional's practices. You document it. You document everything. Slides. So I have slides and folders of slides. Yeah, I know. But then I redigitized it all. Right. So this is the Lord of the Rings cover. That's the cover that really broke.
Wow.
Like, what would Caravaggio do?
That's right.
Your medal is glorious.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's another little key thing I picked up back at Syracuse. Painting from life, like not painting from reference, good reference, painting from life. Both of those combined together. Yeah.
And then the warm gray against the cool gray.
Yep. Yeah. Cool, warm relationships.
Now,
That's the foundation. Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I also sort of feel like when I look at especially pieces like this, I feel they influence a little bit of Desiderio.
Oh yeah, Vincent Desiderio, 100%. Like this is totally this like fragile character, right? Frodo, kind of broken, right? Like very vulnerable as a character. Yeah, that's 100% Desiderio. And there's the full Hobbit cover.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Wow. Yeah. Now, what size is that? Is that
this looks big? This is, well, relatively. It's 37 by 68 inches, so 3 feet by about 6 feet.
I love it. I love the forehead. A lot of foreheads. Forehead skin.
Oh, yeah. Go getting good models. That's the key. That's the key thing. That's
so how do you do that? Now, do you walk down the street and it goes, "There's Gandalf"? Hey, excuse me, sir.
Not exactly, but these were professional models I hired. Yeah.
Okay. For this. Okay.
And
have you ever done that? Have you ever like gone to the Starbucks and seen like, oh my God, there's Frodo?
Oh, I share. Yes. Here's Gandalf right there. Wow. That was a guy I ran into at our local market, Sahadi's, right here in Brooklyn. Yeah. So I used him many times.
Now, how did he take it when you go up to him and goes, "Excuse me, sir, can you be a wizard?"
Well, luckily, you know what? He was a science fiction fan.
Mm.
He wasn't into Lord of the Rings, but he's into science fiction. So that opened, like, he was willing to pose. Yeah. So
that's interesting, because also you can get people who might look the thing, but I mean, also being able to act or to hold the, to emote, right?
Yeah, that's difficult. Like that's like those professional models I was showing you. One of the older guy wasn't great at he was almost overacting everything, and like that's not. I made it work, but it was whereas this guy Michael was his name, the one I've got up here, who I ran into the local store. He was amazing.
Yeah, he gets it. Yeah.
Yeah, he got it. He was so good.
That's why they used to use that guy, you know him, Steve Houston.
Oh, right.
Right. Everybody. I mean, like, he was the guy every single guy used back in the day. I mean, there's literally like 10,000 paperbacks with that guy. But because he knew like exactly how to get his body and pose and everything.
Oh no, right? Yeah, it is. It really is. Like when you run into, I mean, I've had assistants like that. Like my friend Kelly, I've used her in like at least probably 24 covers. And my other previous assistant, Christina, was also. I could show you some science fiction stuff from The Mechanic. So she posed. Whoops, that's not Christina. Let me try that again here. When I find someone, right, when you find someone who's great and who's aware of their body and who knows like what you're chasing after as an illustrator, right? That's that's gold, right? That's amazing. Yeah. Looks like it's not. Yeah, I'm not able to get it to drop in here. Oh, there. Sorry, I saw it pass by there. Or a flash. Are there any other questions for people?
I know we're probably got a few more here. Well, one is right behind you. JRD over on YouTube asks, "Is that a map printer scanner behind you? That large gizmo?"
Oh, this thing. Yeah, this is one of my Epson 24-inch wide printers.
Oh, it's like a plotter. Right.
Yeah, it's almost basically that's what it kind of, I think that's they started out as, whereas these like architectural printers. That's where I used to go to get the large printouts, was to architectural firms.
Right.
And I'd bring my own paper and they'd run it through from these large copies. And then, but then I finally said, I got tired of running back and forth to these places. So I finally bought my own large format printer back when Epson finally came out with them.
Yeah, that metal. Oof, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. Christmas.
And that Starscape is gorgeous.
Oh, I love doing Starscape. Once you realize you don't paint space as black, you paint it like an atmosphere, and then you can have so much fun with it.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw you at a LuxCon, you were doing a large landscape of Middle Earth.
Yeah, the beacons of Gondor.
Yeah.
That monster.
That one, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little bit reminds me of William Troust Richards. You know him?
I love it.
No, William Troust Richards. Don't know. That doesn't hit it.
Yeah, I remember that. It's ginormous.
Yeah.
That's a ridiculously large painting.
And I use this as a lesson. It's like, this is how not to make money as a freelance illustrator.
That's fantastic.
See, that's what Vince would do, is stick his stuff against the wall like that.
Oh, right? That's exactly how that's right, Mike. That's what Vincent Desiderio, they staple it to the wall. And that way you don't have to stretch it. You don't have to manage it. It's easier. You roll it up when you're done. So it's easier to transport, and then you can stretch it, on site wherever you go or whatever you need to do with it.
So now, how do you shoot that?
Lots of little pictures. Tiling it, just setting up the camera, moving the lights, and I think I've probably photographed it 32 different little tiles, and then Photoshop, you can stitch it together.
Wow.
Wow.
So you've got days worth of production after you just get it in the
computer.
computer.
Yeah, it took a while color correcting it, de-dusting, But then you wind up with like a 2 gigabyte file size image, and then you can do whatever you want with it from there.
So now, you eventually get it stretched, right, and mounted, or?
Yeah, this is actually now this is rolled up because it's too damn big in my house.
So now, is that paper or is that canvas?
That's canvas.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple, like one other one, a big one. This is how not to get paid. I mean, I'm joking because it's like I haven't, like, I've sold prints of these, but I've vested like 3 to 4 months of time in each one of these large canvases, and I haven't sold them yet.
Wow.
So, right, that's 3 to 4 months unpaid, but you gotta like subsidize with something else.
So maybe you can talk a little bit about that. So if you get a big project like this that that's going to take whatever time it takes, because you can't necessarily predict it, like, oh, it's going to be 45 hours or whatever. How do you manage? You have streams of income coming in to help you, go through while you're waiting to get paid, kind of a thing? Like, you've got your prints, you've got things like that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I call them multiple plates spinning. So I have prints that I sell online. I do little drawings that I just shared today on Facebook. One of my most recent drawings that I just did over this weekend when I was visiting my parents. So I do these little drawings and I offer those for sale. And then I do, a few magic cards here or there, or I do little proof paintings once in a while. So it's like, I keep, not exaggerate, like probably 6 to 8 things going, books that I, like a little book project, self-publishing project. So here's one of the drawings. This is a drawing I just shared today on my social media that I finished this morning, just finished the final touches on.
Wow.
So this is like this is a total D&D narrative moment. So I love playing, like just having fun, making art for fun. Right.
Well, I also think it's important that people also understand that you're the one who's in charge of doing all that. So you're in charge of like organizing your photo or organizing your art, selling stuff, social media. I mean, so do you break your day down specifically, like this time of day or these days I do this, these days I do this? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a like rigid structured intent, but I like today was finishing up this drawing, getting it scanned in, and then this afternoon I knew I wanted to finish up by noon because I'm working on a new astronaut painting, and I really wanted to get to that. I'm dying to I don't want to I want to at least have a good half a day, 5 to 6 hours to work on this new painting because I'm really excited about it. So I will just drop everything, like to make sure, or I should say drop, but make sure I finish that deadline of time, so I make sure I can save the energy and focus, so I can clear my mind and work on that new painting.
Right. I want to be conscious of the time.
I know, yeah, we are. Yeah.
I put on my producer hat. So, Steve, would you mind running through? We have a couple questions that we started for Donato, and then we'll start wrapping it up. This is a great night.
Yeah.
We've got.
So what paper is that on, by the way?
Oh, this is the toned paper that they don't make them anymore. Cachet used to make a 11 by 14 drawing pad of toned paper.
Huh.
And so I luckily have 6 of these now. I bought some, and then my friend Kelly Houghton had some extras, so she sold them to me. I said, I really want them. I love doing these drawings. So she sold these. So I think I've got almost a lifetime supply of these things. Yeah.
We got a question from Ketzel on YouTube.
Okay.
Mr. Giancola, I'm a huge fan since I saw your a magic card by you in the 90s. How do you feel that your art can be? How do you feel that your art can, or how do you feel about that your art can be reworked and learned into things like the Mindwork Studios miniatures? Oh,
well, that's Mindwork is I'm collaborating with them, so
so you are working with them on that.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun and an honor to see how that stuff gets modified. So Mindworks is great because they're taking my robot series that I've been doing here and reinterpreting some of their miniatures for that. So that's been kind of fun. Because as an artist, I only know the front side of what's going on in these images. So it's kind of neat to see how someone interprets the full 3-dimensional nature of so there's one. This is one of the paintings that they interpreted for a miniature.
That's very cool.
But on the other side, like with AI, right? What's happening? Like Magic is a little scary because their CEO has already stated that he's interested in using AI on all their product, especially Magic and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
and they have tens of thousands of images to train AI on how to do a dragon, how to do an orc, how to do an elf, and they could like put out like a lot of mediocre trained stuff to try to replace what illustrators might provide.
They already pay illustrators so little. It's like it's not gonna save them any money.
In a way, like I don't like right. Like I don't know. Look what they did to the aftermarket, right? They're like they don't care. Like they're not making good. They're not making good choices. They scared me away. Like I've done some my best work for Magic, and they pull that junk and scare me away. They scared other illustrators away too. And it's like that's just bad business. They're just really making really stupid bad choices. They're going to scare more professionals away from them than they think they'll solve their problems by making it cheaper, right?
Do you think fans will revolt?
the difference? I don't think so. That's a tough. I don't know if some of the fans will notice. I think they will. I think there's a subtlety, right, that AI cannot communicate with storytelling, with narration, with character to character interactiveness.
Right.
That it just gets wrong. And I don't know if it'll ever get right because it's just fake. It's there's something off about it. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that question, Ketzel. Hopefully, I
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if that answers. Yeah, we went on a tangent there.
Oh wow, it's these arts. The art's so beautiful. Bill on YouTube asks, "Hi Donato, I had the pleasure of meeting you several years ago at IMC in Amherst. Awesome to see you again via Pencil to Pencil. Good to see you, Bill."
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Bill.
And last, the only question. This is what happens when there's art on the screen. We get a lot fewer questions when there's art on the screen. I think people are just they're gobsmacked the whole time. Shanchai asks, how much of a piece do you see before you start, and how much do you discover as you go?
Oh, that's good. Do you have another 2 hours?
Well, we should definitely have you come back tonight.
Yeah, that'll be the topic of the next episode.
I mean, I'm joking, but it's like it's a whole. I've been teaching for 20. Like, speaking of teaching, like I feel like I've been teaching for 25 years because I feel it's like I need to do that because of the bounce of where I am now. Like I mentioned, I could not be here without teaching, and so I feel like I have to give back now that I'm in this position of success, and I want to support and inspire other illustrators. But because of that, I have a lot of lectures. I have a lot of process to it, and the idea of like how do I see an image? It evolves. I showed you those like little abstracts of some of the sketches, and that's kind of the foundation of most of my work. Has this level of abstraction involved with I've just got to look off to the side, see if I could find a few other examples. But that the abstraction is the foundation, that initial foundation of thought that I'm chasing for. And it triggers the next level of visual development that then I can start like fleshing out a little bit more of the structure of the composition that could be going on. And then that triggers the next level of value and lighting and compositional and density of information. And then clear. So once I get that low, that's those detailed drawings that I kind of might have showed you at some of the other sketches that I've done. So those highly detailed preliminaries then clear my worries over design, and then I can then enter into color and edge control and atmosphere and then experiment with that. So I guess my point is that each phase of my visual development, I'm in an act of discovery as I proceed to the next rendering phase. And that keeps it exciting for me. So it's not like I'm regurgitating like 4 different times the same idea, whereas I'm going through a discovery phase. So when I finish my drawing, I don't know what colors I'm going to use. I really don't. And it's like, oh, what can I, and then I'll just go trigger myself by looking at another artist or another reference piece. And I'll go, oh, I want to make an orange painting today. And I'll just make orange. I'll just like as a foundation, and I can have fun. Like, okay, it's going to be an orange Middle Earth painting, and like, well, how do I make that work? And it's like, like I just do it and find a way. Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
That was great. No, those were our questions, and we are at time.
Okay.
So now somebody's got to do it.
Yes.
Donato, you were fantastic. I'm not joking. We would love to have you back.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll
thank
do
you,
that
Lamar.
together.
Yeah.
Guys,
I
thanks.
mean, that might actually really be a great thing to just talk about the process of idea, because that's what everybody asks you, right? Like, where do your ideas come from, right?
Right.
Like that, and I actually should say I did take a workshop with Donato.
Oh, right, down at the Delaware.
Several years ago, he did one down at the Delaware.
Yeah, Delaware. Yeah, we did a little drawing one, right?
Right, yeah, and I did it because my buddy Will was wanted to do it, so I figured, oh, I just go in and sit in on it, just
Right.
just to steal your ideas, steal your secrets.
Right.
But it was great and very informative, and I think that if anyone ever has an opportunity to take a class with you, they definitely should.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And we've been putting your URLs on the screen all evening. Please go follow Donato.
Oh, thanks, Jamal.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. On IG and your homepage. And is there any other place you'd like to plug, Donato?
Oh, no, I mean, not really. Just my homepage is enough.
And the news page on your website has got you discuss those issues with
Wizards. Yeah.
So if people want to dive a bit deeper, that's a place to check out.
No, yeah, and I tried to, like, I'm not trying to overly disparage Wizard. I'm just kind of calling them out on the facts and just support the artists. Just please support the artists. That's it.
I mean, support the people that build your business, because you wouldn't have it without the people making the images.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Well, and just to put it out there, Donato, we have an open slot next week. I'm just saying. Just saying. But maybe
next
maybe
week I'll be traveling, but I'll have to do this. Yeah, I like the idea of getting into the focus.
Yeah,
you can see I can be scattered and tangential.
We'll make that happen. So
good.
So thank you guys so much. Thank you. We had a great evening. We're going to wrap it up. Say thank you to our guest Donato. And Donato, don't leave. We have a thing we do here.
Oh, you do? Okay, all right. I'll hang in there. Okay.
I wish I had a better remix of this because you're a Tolkien guy. But guys, we're out of time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll be back next week, same Bad Times at Bat channel. And before we all turn to dust, I think it would behoove you to that is what we're doing. Wash those Kirby hands. Let's see some good Kirby.
Do some Kirby hands.
What?
Yeah, remember Jack Kirby?
You remember Jack Kirby?
Oh, Kirby, yeah. Oh, right.
Digital hands are also acceptable. Or 9-fingered hands. David's right. We'll do
AI hands.
The hands of the precious.
Right. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.